4-letter word. My guest today, Tracy St. Croi. Welcome to the show.
Fine, I'm here.
That is hilarious. Nobody has ever done that before.
I couldn't resist on there. Hi, thanks for having me, Lori.
No, I liked your original intro. Or your original, welcome. Oh boy. Yeah, Tracy and I just recently met and we totally had a fantastic conversation like a pre-show conversation. And so I'm very interested in getting into what we're going to talk about today.
I'm excited. I
Yeah.
don't even know. Let's find out.
Well, let's find out. Exactly. That's how every conversation goes. I don't know exactly where it's going. We'll just find out once it unravels or unfolds, I mean.
Love it.
What were the values and beliefs you were raised with as a kid that contributed to you becoming who you are?
Oh, that's an interesting question, especially the last part where you said that helped me become who I am.
That contributed, yeah. Yeah.
I kind of revolted against all of that. Like I had a huge revolt against most of it. You know, I could say like 98% of the so-called values and systems and all of that I grew up with, like I had to toss out the window because that just wasn't going to work for this girl.
Yeah.
Like,
What were some of them that you that didn't work for you?
you need to stay in the 5 mile bubble.
Mm.
Everybody knows what that is, right?
Yeah.
So don't go outside the 5 mile bubble. There's a boogeyman out there, and you just need to stay here because the boogeyman's not here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Where were you raised?
I'm a Midwesterner.
Okay.
Originally from St. Louis.
Okay.
So very much, I was raised very, and I think a lot of people, not just Midwesterners, can associate with this, but very Midwestern values. Like, you know, you, you go to school and, you brag about your high school and then maybe you go to college and then you come back to your hometown and then you meet somebody and you get married and you have kids and you work this job and you probably don't like it, but you do it anyway. And maybe you get to take that big trip to Paris one day and then you come back and then you get sick and then you complain about all your sicknesses and your illnesses and then you die.
Oh my God, that's so true. It's funny, but it's true.
It is. It's like,
and sad.
I was like, I don't like, there has to be more to this gig than that bullshit. Like, and I mean, I want to say too, like, I didn't grow up in like some horrible family or anything, but just the dynamics and the systems that were in play there were not going to work for this girl. Like, nope.
It's always fascinating to me to talk to people like you who break the mold, really. Like, because if everybody in your family for generations was doing that, and then you come along, like, what inspired you to think that you could be different? I don't mean that. Like, how did you break out of that when you didn't have a role model for it, I guess is what I'm saying.
You know, it was one of those, it was just this, almost this compulsion. And that I don't really know where it came from. I do and I don't. I had my mother passed when I was 10 and she was very entrepreneurial and her side of the family was a little bit more adventurous than my father's side of the family in life. We'll put it that way. But her dying when I was 10, it didn't leave a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? For me to go on for the rest of my life. But I always felt this, like, there's a bigger world out there and like there's fun to be had and there's cool people and like there has to be more than this bullshit. Like there has to be.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, go find out.
So then what did that develop? Like, how did that play out? When you were 10, your mom passes away. Like,
oh yeah,
did
like
that must have thrown your entire life into turmoil?
Yeah, I mean, the whole family goes kaboom, right? As
Yeah.
it would normally. And me and my siblings got split up. So half of
Oh,
us,
geez.
yeah, half of us, me and my older sibling went with our father, and my two younger siblings went with their father. My mother had married twice, and the conditions that I grew up with my mother in were not the conditions that I had with my father, and it was just a whole new shitstorm
Mm,
of dynamics, and just it was I need you to say you're fine, but I was so not fucking
mm.
fine. I
Right.
was so not fucking fine.
Did they put you in therapy?
Fuck no. This is 1988,
Okay.
89,
Well,
right?
still.
I'll tell you this. Um, it was I and I was never present for these conversations, but I always figured that they happened, and later on in life I did get confirmation that they did happen. That other family members and concerned friends of the family had approached, you know, my father and other members of the family, and were like, yeah, these girls probably need therapy. And, it was the typical mid century man family
Mhm.
response,
Mhm.
post World War II bullshit of, we'll just solve this in the family. We'll keep
Mhm.
this in the family, which
Yeah.
pretty much meant we ain't going to do shit about it.
Right. We'll just not talk about it and it will go away on its own.
Exactly. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to pretend it's not happened. Everybody pretend everything is normal. I need you to act like you're fine. And we're
Yeah.
not going to talk about it. It was just something that happened, and now it's not happening.
Yeah. All right. Then how
Yeah.
did this progress? Because at some
Cool.
point, obviously you got some help but what happened before you did that?
Well, I mean, it doesn't take a psychic to figure out what happened. I mean, I was also at that point, 80s babies, we were latchkey.
Yeah.
We were, I consider myself, half to 75% feral, drinking out of a hose. The street light was my clock, playing in
Yes.
woods and getting in cars with people you shouldn't have been, and just all kind, like we were just out there on the loose.
Right. Feral. I love it.
And after that you hit teenage years, and all the hormones kick in and all of that. And of course it was turning to drugs and alcohol and anything that would numb the pain,
Mm. Yeah.
pretty much. And it was the 90s.
Right. And then some point, because you're not still doing that,
No.
wha- how did again, like you did something different to make a different path for yourself. What was the incentive there or the turning point?
I mean, there was a lot of what I like to call synchronistic events lined up in my favor, and I took advantage of the opportunity. And it started off with a dare at one of my friends' weddings here in Austin to move here, and I did. In
Mhm.
2 months, I'd packed up my stuff and moved to Austin. And I was here for about 3 years, and then I was like, you know what, girl, the geographical change doesn't work. Like, your problems are still here because you're your problem.
Right, right. You are still here. You are still
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
you are still you, and you are still creating this
What's
shit.
that saying? Wherever you go, there you are.
Yep. And so, I was very lucky that I was able to get sober and get into a 12-step program and start to got into therapy. Been in therapy for many, many years now. My therapist is also a shamanic practitioner, so she recognized my abilities, and she helped encourage developing them. And it's kind of how I got here.
Mhm. Mhm.
A big part. So I just said yes to opportunities, really,
Okay.
because I
Yeah.
was not like, I was not going to thrive in the environment I was. Like I needed a bigger pot. I had outgrown my pot. And
Mhm.
so I needed to be taken out and replanted in healthier, bigger soil with a lot more room to grow my roots.
Yeah. What are you like what are you doing now that you can look back on and go, yeah, this had this the roots, if we're going to go with this plant analogy, that the roots came from maybe reaching back to childhood.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean the roots totally reached back to childhood, but it was also about, creating a story that hadn't been created in my family
Mhm.
successfully. And
Yeah.
that was about, you know, facing, mental illness, whatever, if it's, depression, addiction, whatever it is, your own stuff, and healing that and choosing to recognize and take responsibility, because we all have responsibility in
Yeah.
our lives, and then consciously choosing to create something new and better.
Mhm. Yeah. What has been the result of that? Like, have you obviously you've influenced clients and other people around you. What kind of reception or influence did that have in your family? Like, were people respectful of that, or were they like, "You're crazy?" I mean, they probably
It
thought you were
was
crazy anyway.
yeah, it kind of um um when one person heals in a family, a lot of the other family that's still like sick and in their own stuff doesn't like it.
Mhm.
Because now they have a mirror. They got
Yeah.
they've got somebody reflecting back to them, like, yeah, you can get over your stuff too, and you can get healed, and then who knows, it kicks in their own insecurities and shame and doubt and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mhm.
um there were I had really really supportive people, and what I learned in early sobriety was, stick with the supportive people, right?
Mhm.
Look for the smiling faces in the audience, look for those people who are cheering you, look for those people who are being with you. The other people, like, they're going to be who they're going to be.
Mhm.
You can't change, fix, or heal them. So you might as well be with the people who are cheering you on and wanting to see what's better for you and helping you and you helping them.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
exactly.
learned a lot in AA. Like, I can't, you know, if that's the life that they wanted to live, well, then so be it. I
Mhm.
love you, but I love me more. So I'm going to go choose better.
Yes. Yes. That's
That was one of the blessings of AA. I learned, like, I can love you, but I can also love me more. Like,
right. Right. Right, right. My loving myself more does not diminish how much love I have for you,
yeah,
and I'm gonna take care of me in order to be able to still love you.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, you have some special abilities that I know we all have, but we all have not everyone has developed them. Talk
right.
to me about those.
Um, well, I am what they call a psychic medium, and a damn good one at that, if I must say so myself.
Yes.
Um,
Claim it.
I know. Well, I really am. They say the writing is written on the wall. Sometimes we just don't see it. And
Mhm.
that was true for me in my childhood and growing up, and just being aware of information a lot. I remember, knowing who was calling before the phone rang. And this is, when we just had landlines,
Mhm.
no
Mhm.
caller ID. And, like, I would just know when things were going to happen. Like, I might not have been able to articulate them in a,
Mhm.
in a logistic, logistical or cognitive way, but I knew the feeling.
Mhm.
I didn't know the form of
Yeah.
it. I would always know about, like, which present under the Christmas tree was that one thing that I wanted, right? From like really really small things to like big things. I would be aware of as a child, and my some of my family thought it was entertaining. A lot of them didn't want to entertain that. Was like, that's not what we do in this family, and
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah.
yada yada
Did
yada.
did
You
you
know,
ever have a time when I mean, it sounds like maybe after your mom passed and you were a rebel. I mean, you're still a rebel, but I mean, when you were like getting yourself in trouble for being a rebel, um, were you burying those abilities because they weren't accepted?
oh yeah. I mean, it's really typical, especially when kids start going to school in any kind of group format, whether it's preschool, kindergarten, whatever it is.
Mhm.
They're taught more to use their logic mind, ABCs, one two threes, colors, and all that kind of stuff. The emotion of the situation gets pushed to the side. So not only was that sort of happening, but then also, the trauma of losing my mother, but it didn't shut down my gifts completely. What I say is like they went dormant, and I would still get bubbles of things. I would know things, but I wouldn't, I would just go, "Ooh, I feel really good about that," or "I don't feel so good about that," or I would have a lot of precog dreams and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and I didn't really understand it, but it's not nearly, it was just kind of what I like to say, it was running in the background, but I didn't know how to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's somewhat similar to one of my past guests, Bridget Baker, is an animal communicator.
Uh-huh.
And she said the same thing when she was very young. Everybody thought it was cute. Bridget talks to animals. And then as she got into school, she got bullied and socialized to not use these talents and buried them until recently. Now she's in her 50s.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, they came out loud and proud. Like pretty much the second I decided to get sober, it was wild.
Mm.
It was wild. It was an interesting time.
Yeah. And so what are you doing with them? Like uh, you host a TV show? You doing like do you do readings with people? How do you share these gifts with the world?
I do. I share them a lot. I have a podcast called Haunted Road Trip Show, and I have a streaming TV show of the same name that will premiere this April on a whole lot of networks.
Cool.
I also do, yeah, I do one-on-one readings. I do some metaphysical affairs. I do party events, corporate events, all kinds of stuff.
How did you get into the haunted side of things? Like
It was kind of like I tripped and I fell into it almost. Like I would always watch these shows since they started, like Ghost Hunters and all that kind of stuff that started, I guess, in the mid aughts or whatever. And this was even before I'd really discovered or accepted my abilities. And I would just go, I could do that. Like that, like, okay, I can do that. And then once I started developing my mediumship and, um, you know, all of that, I thought, no, I would be really good at that. But I just, I didn't know how to put my toe in the water. Right.
Mhm.
And then COVID hit, and it just started kind of one of those ideas that just keeps coming up and coming up. And that's how you know the difference between your intuition and your ego, is because the idea just keeps coming back around and coming back around and coming back around, right?
So you're saying
And
if it keeps coming back around, then it's your intuition.
yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
like, take a look at it, and it'll come back around. Sometimes it'll be burning bush, and sometimes it'll be a lot more subtler. And it just kept coming around, and it was finally like, okay, uncle, I'll do this. Okay. And so it started out as a podcast, and then it slowly but surely started to roll forward, and I was like, oh, this, okay, oh, I really have a chance, because I investigate from a from a different lens than a lot of these shows do. These shows out there are doing a lot of tech and a lot of antagonizing and all of that. And don't get me wrong, I really love the tech stuff. I really love the proof and all of that kind of stuff. But I looked at these shows and I said, you guys are missing like 95% of all kinds of shit that's going on right in front of you because
Mm.
you are so obsessed with getting something to beep or bloop or blink or whatever that you're missing the obvious. And I'm like, why don't they have mediums on here, really qualified mediums in there with them the whole time? Because a
Uh-huh.
lot of these shows, you see a psychic medium on there for like 2 minutes, right? 2, 3 minutes tops.
Okay.
And it's like, why aren't they there heading up this investigation and then you coming in with the backup?
Uh-huh. Right.
And mixing it together with the evidence and the mediumship and the history and all of that. And plus they don't, I just saw it being done differently in a way that more educates the public and takes the fear out of communicating with spirit.
That's a key. Like so
And
many
that's
people are afraid because
yeah,
they're afraid of ghosts and or yeah, like you said, the spirits, and because they don't know. Like people's tendency is to be afraid of what they don't know.
yeah. And I'm here just to, help spirits have their best afterlives and educate the living on how to communicate confidently and clearly with those in the spirit world.
Mhm. Yeah. Where have you been in your tours?
Cool places, cool places. Um, I have been to a haunted hotel that Bonnie and Clyde stayed at. Really cool. And I'm looking to get back to a few other places in that town as well. I went to a really spooky, haunted, I don't know if you would call it an estate or what you would call it, but it's called Victoria's Black Swan Inn and a couple other really just stellar places that I just was like, oh my God.
There's a place in Nevada that has a hotel. I'll have to find out the name of it. Um, that is supposed to be haunted. And
Oh
yeah.
yeah, find me the name. Yeah, there's lots of haunted places in Nevada. Is it a clown motel or something? I've been seeing online a line for what I won't like clowns already like get me. I'm already like I don't know about it.
You don't like
Um,
clowns?
I don't like it because I don't like masks on
Oh,
people.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
No, I think it's in Tonopah. Oh, it's called the Mitzvah Hotel, I think. No,
I've
wait, it
heard of
says the world plate. Wait, there is a world famous clown motel in Tonopah. That might be it, but I thought it was the Mitzpah, Mizpah. Yeah, I'll have to figure out which one it
yeah,
is. There is a clown hotel there too.
yeah. I've heard that is got some serious paranormal activity.
Um, yeah. No, there was some stuff happening at the Mizpah Hotel too. I'm just looking it up right now. I'll have to, yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's like 4 hour drive from Las Vegas. So,
Oh God. No, we wouldn't. I mean, we're looking forward to filming at other places. Sponsors have been very kind and helpful in that uh, um, endeavor as well.
yeah, cool. Um, and then do you teach people how to use their own abilities in this realm?
I do. I teach mediumship and psychic development classes. You just go to my website and you'll see on there very clearly psychic and mediumship development classes. I try to make it
Okay.
as ultimately clear as possible. But yeah, I do a lot of my classes are online via Zoom, things like that, because
Uh-huh.
I have so many people around everywhere. So
Yeah. What's the biggest reason that people come to you for that? Like they want to learn, why do they want to learn how to use it? Like, is there something driving them or are they just curious or
there's a lot of reasons why, but mostly it's to get a structure and an understanding of how their mechanics work as an intuitive.
Mhm.
They're like, I know I have this car, I don't know how to drive it.
Hmm.
And then I give them the kind of, driver's ed. Here's what's going.
Driver's ed for intuition.
Yeah, driver's ed for intuition and mediumship. Okay, here's what's going on.
I like it. That is awesome.
Yeah.
What's like what's something that surprised you or something that you learned through your abilities that like did you get a message for somebody one time that you just were like, wow, I didn't like what's like some kind of crazy story?
There's a lot of them, and to be honest with you, it always amazes me with spirit. Like
Yeah.
spirit, like don't put spirit in a box, don't put it in a corner. Like it will surprise and amaze you every single time. I remember. Okay, this one really sticks out. This one blew my mind. Um, this was early in my professional career, and I had just started doing mediumship readings, and I went to this big local event, right? One of these big national events came in, and I had my table there, and this husband and wife came up, and they were both kind of really, really nervous, and the wife sat down with me, and the husband went off to do whatever. And she's like, I really need this a mediumship reading. I said, okay. And I sat down and I started opening up. And I'm trying to remember exactly how it happened so I can tell. I'm like, um, I remember her mother came through.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember the exact messages or anything like that. But her mother came through, and then I said, I remember saying, I have this man with her, and feels like your dad. And I just started describing him and this and this, and I go, but just feels like he just got over there, or something's happening with his transition right now. She's talking about, and her eyes got real big and looked at me. And she said, "Yeah, my father's in the hospital right now on life support, and
Mm.
we don't really know what's happening." I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm really sorry." And at that point, her husband, I remember her husband came around and tapped her on the shoulder, and he said, "We have to go. The hospital just called. Your dad coded. He's dying."
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was like, uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Right. What do you say to that?
yeah. I was like, I mean, I was just like, okay. But what she did figure out was she was like, it was really peaceful to know that he was already with my mother.
Yes.
That was the piece that it got her. So when she did know that, oof, I just get chills everywhere.
Mm.
That he was, you know, in a much better place, however you want to place that. But I remember that blew my mind as like I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Because even though you know you have this ability, I think that's something that when we start trusting our intuition, when we start allowing synchronicities or connections like what you're talking about, or any kind of what we commonly call coincidences and things like that, that's normal. Like that is how it is supposed to be. I put supposed to in quotes, but I still and hope I always am still amazed when it happens. Like it's just such an awe. We use the
Yeah.
word awesome all the time, but really awe-inspiring when
It
something like that happens.
Yeah, and it really puts you like it always puts me in a place of like humility and faith, and like, there are things that we will never understand in this human logical realm.
Yeah.
There are things that are bigger and beyond all of us as an individual spirit, as
Hmm.
an individual ego on this planet. And I'm always honored that Spirit nominated me to work for them,
Yeah.
because like everything else, I'm like, ooh, that seems boring. I wouldn't want to do that my whole life.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
you
And,
know
and
and I mean,
so
with me, I get to channel and I get to hear all kinds of crazy family secrets, and code languages, and this happened on this Christmas and he almost burned down the house, and like I get all
right?
kinds of great stories from people about their family and how they loved each other so much, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I bet it is. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm fascinated by all of that. And yeah,
it is
I
fascinating.
what's that? Yeah, it is
I said it
fascinating.
is it is very fascinating, and I was really obsessed with the occult as a kid. You remember them Time Life books? You remember Time
Yes,
Life? Yes.
of
And they had
course.
they had the Time Life series on I can't even remember all the books that they had because it was such a long series, but I remember that there was one on Egypt and haunting and ghost, and like I just was like, I don't know how many chores I need to do, but I need to get these books.
Really?
Yeah.
That see, I was never intrigued. I always a little bit afraid of like the haunted stuff, but I am intrigued by the spirituality, um the mediumship, but not, I don't know, I guess like the haunted house part of things, like what you're talking about where you go into them, that's still a little no thanks for me. But but the mediumship and the intuitive readings and things like that, that's fascinating to me. And my family has always been one about who dreams. Like we remember our dreams, or like when my grandmother passed, I think it was my uncle, my mom, and my grandfather all had a similar dream that same
Oh,
night. Um,
that let
yeah,
that let you guys know she was okay,
yeah,
or
yeah, something to that
oh,
effect. And so that's always been a part of my family on my mom's side, the dreaming and the intuition kind of thing. So it was
right.
never like a weird thing for me. But I don't, my ability is not as developed as yours.
And I tell people, like, you don't most people don't go to development classes to be professionals.
Hmm.
Most people just develop them just to understand how to work with them and communicate them, and strengthen them in their own lives for whatever that means, in their own
Yeah.
careers, in their own personal lives.
Yeah.
Basically,
I'm going to
yes.
say something that I have never said before to anyone, I don't think. But it seems like it's appropriate right now in terms of like the intuitive stuff and dreams. When so both of my cats passed away in 2022. And before even the first one did, I was having dreams that I was traveling with the older one. She and I were traveling, and like I would let her go places without a leash, and I was like, "Oh, my husband's going to be mad at me for letting her run off on her own or whatever," and then she would get lost and I'd have to find her. And but I was traveling with her. And I just didn't really think anything about it. But then the younger one passed away, and Panther and I ended up going on that month-long road trip together. And I think back and I was like, okay, those dreams were somehow like what's the word, premonitions of
Precog.
precog that she and I were going to be traveling together, like just the two of us, and but no idea that's how we got to do it, was because Karma had passed already.
Yep.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? That's why I tell people, if you have visual dreams, or if you can remember your dreams, keep a dream journal and see how they start playing out in your life.
Yeah.
Because not
Yeah. And
everything is a play by play. Everything can be very symbolic and very,
right. I was just going to say that. Thank you for bringing that up, because like, just because somebody dies doesn't mean they're going to die.
yeah.
It's symbolic.
Hmm. It is. It's like I have my symbols for my dreams. I have my symbols when I'm communicating with spirit and things like that. So, yeah, and I always love to write dreams down, and then when stuff starts happening, I love to go back and read what I wrote about that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, that was almost verbatim what happened.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, are you what's the term? Presentient? Pre was like, do you feel things? You see things, you hear things, or all of them?
All of it. I got all the
Okay.
Claires, all them
Okay.
Claire sisters.
Yes, that's what
Yes.
I okay.
Yes. When and this is what I educate my students a lot about. Like you'll hear people say, I'm such and such, I'm a clairvoyant. Well, that probably just means that that's their dominant psychic
Mhm. Mhm.
ability. They're also, clairsentient and claircognizant, and they're all of it. We're not just one.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is so interesting. Like, I could have this conversation all afternoon, but we don't have all afternoon. So, before I ask how people can get in touch with you, because I am sure that if anybody listening is as fascinated by all of this as I am, they will want to reach out and continue a conversation with you. But before I ask you how they can do that, the next question is,
Uh
what's
oh.
the hype song?
You
What's the
gotta make
song?
me choose.
I know you said you had a hard time choosing. You're welcome to mention more than one. But
Okay.
what are the okay, so for
Okay.
you, what are the songs you listen to when you need an extra boost of energy?
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna give situations behind them so then we can have some context, right?
Okay, cool.
Okay. Probably like right before I go on stage for something, or if I'm at a big event, then I probably have to listen to something like Eminem, Lose Yourself,
Mhm.
right? And then if I am like if I got to get on a big call, right? Like on like and I've got to sell the show and get a big sponsorship or something, I'll listen to like They Call Me the Breeze because it makes me
Yes.
laugh and I love Leonard Skinner and it's like, yeah, I can fucking do this shit.
Yes.
And then like if I am and if I just want to pick me up and if I just want to, laugh about life, then I'll listen to like Jimmy Buffett, We Are the People Our Parents Warned Us About. Because
Yes.
if I had to if that could be written right on my memorial. She was the people our parents warned us about.
Mhm. Yes, I love it. And
Ring the bell if you understand.
yes,
Oh my
yes.
god, that would be
Wait,
so
there are sound effects some here in this. I don't know how to use them. Um, maybe we'll have Adam drop that in at that
yeah.
at that moment, right? Yeah. And I love that because no one else has ever picked a Leonard Skinner song.
What?
No,
Oh my
no.
god, what type of people are you having on your show,
I
Lori?
don't know. I
We
may need
gotta
to
talk about
reevaluate.
this. I don't know.
And I feel compelled to mention that throughout this entire interview, which you're not able to see, but Tracy has had a cat sitting on her lap.
My precious black cat,
Yes,
Sassy.
sassy, so
Mm-hmm.
adorable. I appreciate that she was joining us for this interview. Okay, so now if people want to reach you, where do they find you?
Okay, they can go to my links that are probably in the show notes.
Yep, they'll be in the show notes.
They'll be in the show notes. Join me on my one and only TikTok account, or follow me on YouTube on Haunted Road Trip Show. If you
Haunted Road Trip Show. Yes.
yes,
I'm gonna be tuning in for that. And I appreciate that it's on YouTube because that's pretty much the only place I watch. Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, join me on
Awesome.
TikTok. I like to go live. I do a lot of free readings when I go live, jam, talk to people, bullshit, whatever.
There's some incentive. Free
Yeah.
readings. Yes.
Yeah, free. I mean, free readings when I go live.
All right.
It gets pretty interesting on there when
We
I.
will see you there. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today, Tracy, on Fine is a 4-letter word.
Yeah.